Aherne, Rory Jennings here too. Lots of you getting in touch. 03717223344. Rory saying Chelsea a club in absolute disarray, almost calling for the owners to get out of the club. Another club going for that. Former Chelsea midfielder Andy Townsend was on the Sunday session and believes Chelsea could finish outside the top six.
Honestly, I think they're going to be very, very difficult to predict. Hand on heart, I don't see them top four, and I probably would see them maybe just outside the top six.
Andy Townsend, I think a lot of people would consider this to be the outcome for Chelsea next season.
Do you know what's amazing about Andy Townsend's prediction there, and assertion that Chelsea won't make it into the top six? I feel like his words there were actually quite comforting, because he's suggesting that Chelsea will be in and around the debate for top six. Everything that's going on with the club, I'm far more pessimistic than Andy.
Are you forgetting what happened towards the end of last season, though? I mean, the push towards getting a spot in European football, I mean, they did improve towards the end of last season.
It was very impressive, Shebahn. You're absolutely right to flag that, but they sacked the manager.
I know. Then they sacked Maurizio Pochettino, right? Huge problem there. But do you not think the squad that you've got are good enough to challenge?
No, I don't think the squad is very good. I think the squad is very expensive, and as soon as I say something like the squad isn't very good, people go, but you spent $1 billion quid. I know we spent $1 billion quid, but we spent it in the most idiotic fashion. We've spent it on players that are clearly not worth that. Look at Mykhailo Mudryk, and let's use him as an example to represent this whole story. Mykhailo Mudryk is so average. He's so average. Enzo Fernández, take away his like abhorrent issues that are going on at the moment and just analyse the footballer momentarily. Distinctly average. Enzo Fernández, costing well over 100 million quid, is the biggest waste of money that I think the Premier League has ever seen. And think about some of the terrible signings that we've seen. Paul Pogba, Romelu Lukaku to Manchester United, Romelu Lukaku on the same list to Chelsea Football Club. But Enzo Fernández is so not a Premier League player. So slows the pace down, not particularly good on the ball. All of the things that people like to tell you he's good at, he's not. He's distinctly average. So we've spent loads of money. We've spent 200 million quid on Enzo Fernández and Mykhailo Mudryk, and neither of them are better than very average players that are playing for other Premier League teams. Look at, when we got Mudryk and Arsenal got Trossard. Leandro Trossard is everything I want Mykhailo Mudryk to be. Leandro Trossard is effective, direct, always on the score sheet, turns up when it most matters, scores big, important goals. Mykhailo Mudryk is nobody. Like he's completely average. And for what we need, Champions League level club, a club with ambitions of winning a third European Cup, a club with ambitions of winning the Premier League, Mykhailo Mudryk is inept. Okay, that's the thoughts of Rory Jennings. Let's see what Chelsea fans think about this morning. Good morning to Connor. Connor, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Although I'm slightly less okay after hearing Rory, because I agree with everything he says.
With all due respect.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, I'm sort of 26, just turned, so I've supported Chelsea since I was a baby. So from when I was a baby up until a couple of years ago, we was the most successful club in England and one of the most successful clubs in the world. And it's like looking at a completely new team now through a window. The owners have come in. The moment they started gutting people like Czech out of the structure, you knew that something was wrong. And what we've done, we spent millions and millions of pounds on average players, and now we're paying the consequences. And it might have just been pre-season, but I actually think that Maresca is too tactical for our mid-players. I think he's too tactically minded for our players. And I know it sounds cruel in my own club, but they've really sort of gutted me. They've gutted the club, and it's, depressed Chelsea fans.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if you think about what they've done as well, it's just horrible, isn't it? Because they have gutted the club. The term you use there is completely correct. Like, think how many academy graduates have been sold over the past 2 years in order to facilitate these moves for distinctly average, expensive players. Like, how many? It's if Broja goes, which we assume he will, if Conor Gallagher goes, which we assume he will, that will be 10 and 11. That's a full team. Chalaba. That's a full team, 11 players in 2 years that have come through the youth ranks, played for the first team, and have been moved on. And of those 11, 4 of them would have played over 50 first-team games, because you've got to think Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount, and Trevor Chalobah will go. That will be 4 players that have played over 50 games for the club, all being sold. And let's face it, being replaced by players who aren't as good.
Okay, Connor, thank you very much for your call this morning. Another Chelsea fan called Rory. This could get confusing. Good morning, Rory. How are you?
Morning. I'm not too bad. Rory, I hear some of the things you're saying, but I think you're a little bit too pessimistic. You mentioned Enzo. I don't agree, obviously, with what he said, but if you actually read about him, when he joined Chelsea with a hernia. It was kept quiet. He actually had an operation, so he wasn't operating as he should do. Now, with Mudryk, I'm a big fan of Mudryk because I watched him before he came to England. You've got to remember this boy,
at Shakhtar.
And he is a boy. He came at the age of 21 on his own from a country where he has actually lost family members in a war. You need to put it into perspective and stop being so negative. Yes, we know we've sold youth players, but it's not the first time we've done it. We've done that for years. That has been Chelsea's policy for years. It's just coming to light now. We have done that, and yes, we are not playing well. And yes, we clearly have made some decisions which are confusing. But please don't state things about a guy who's lost members of his family. He was here on his own for 18 months on his own at the age of 21.
Yeah, Rory, I completely agree. Mudryk's journey and story is one that's very sorrowful and admirable. But let's analyse him as a footballer. Has he ever delivered for Chelsea? Have you ever seen him have a good game for Chelsea?
Rory, listen. If you lost family members and you come to a different country, a totally different style of play, a totally different league, and you're worrying about your family at home, whether or not you're going to get a phone call to say, oh, Uncle Pete's died this time or Auntie Mary's died this time, you're not going to concentrate on football. If you look at the guy closely, the guy has got skills. He has got skills.
Rory, all of that I agree with. His journey, his story is heartbreaking. But can I ask you, have you seen him have a good game for Chelsea ever?
He hasn't got the confidence.
So is that no?
He hasn't got the confidence in him. He hasn't. Listen, Arsenal wouldn't have wanted him, and Chelsea wouldn't have wanted him if he was a bad player. He's having a bad time. The guy is a good player. He's better than some of the players that have played ahead of him, but because he has a lack of confidence, because of what's going on in the background, it's affecting his game. You cannot say to me that he's a rubbish player. He has problems. He's 21.
Rory, I think you make a very good point, and I think it's important to highlight the human side of football as well, and that story is quite exceptional. Also, good morning to Luke, the Chelsea fan. Luke, how do you feel about this whole situation with Chelsea and pre-season friendlies not going too well?
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
I completely agree with everything Rory said. I think it's very easy to go into pre-season just thinking, it's just friendlies and it doesn't mean much, but I think reading, I've watched both games. We were terrible in both of them.
Okay.
Doesn't look like there was anything promising. And like I said, I think it's easy to say it's just pre-season, but you've got to have some hope. And I'm going into this season looking at the quality of players we've got. I know there's time to buy players, but I look at that squad we've got right now. That is the worst squad since I've been supporting Chelsea that I have seen. It is terrible. There is no one in that squad that gets me excited. Maybe the only one that gets me excited at the moment is Nkunku. And obviously Cole Palmer when we go into this season. I never feel like I have to worry with Chelsea about losing players. And if we do, it tends to be to the likes of the big clubs of Real Madrid, to Barcelona. If we carry on the way we're going, the likes of Cole Palmer, in a year or two, if we carry the way we currently are in a minute, he will be moving on. And I don't think he's ready for that Real Madrid move, obviously, in the next year or two. But there will be teams like Man United who will eventually improve, I believe.
Yeah.
Arsenal obviously on the rise at the minute. We will start losing players to teams around us. I just don't see where we go this season. Honestly, I really don't. I want to give the manager time, but it's I don't think it's the manager's fault. It's obviously I think he's walked into. I feel actually really sorry for the bloke. I think he's walked into a job that is
a bit of a storm.
Impossible at the minute.
Yeah. Luke, thank you very much for your call this morning. Okay, a lot of Chelsea fans agreeing with you this morning. Rory, perhaps, yes, harsh at times, but this is who you are. You will speak your mind about Chelsea Football Club. 03717 223344. And by the way, yes, they were beaten by Celtic 4-1, but credit to Celtic for anybody getting in touch saying stop disrespecting Celtic. It was a good performance from them. I completely agree. Fair play to the boys. Coming up next, we'll be looking back on the only Premier League side that are yet to sign a player this window. This is talkSPORT.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.